Welcome, age of vintage society. Brigitte Bardot was a woman of passion who was led by her heart and acted on her feelings. Logic and sensibilities be damned. Her passion drove her to do all sorts of things. It didn't matter if they were wrong or not. It was this attitude of hers that led to the events that pushed her to the brink of death, not once or twice. But she had fun, except that fun didn't bring her the happiness she desired. This is the life of Brigitte Bardot. Why Brigitte Bardot considered her child a tumour in her life. Make sure to watch the video until the end and leave your thoughts in the comments. If you are new here, join our wonderful community by subscribing to the Age of Vintage channel. Brigitte Bardot, the woman who revolutionized freedom. Fewer actresses could dominate headlines like Brigitte Bardot did. She had a love-hate relationship with the media. Well, mostly hate. But there is some love there. After all, her masterful appearances in the media gave her a career anyway. However, what the media giveth, it taketh away. It also didn't help that Brigitte Bardot courted controversy with her statements and acts. Although sometimes she didn't even need to say or do anything, her mere existence brought the media around her like vultures to a carcass. It could be exhausting. It was exhausting for her, actually. She went to America, and the paparazzi and fans wouldn't let her see much of the country. Don't get us started about the fans, too. Some of the fans went overboard. A group of men broke into her house one time and declared that they would live with her. No wonder she was always afraid. There was one time a cleaner also attacked her in an elevator, and there were death threats, too. So from the fans and media, she never felt really safe. The attacks from the media almost made her lose her life. It was that bad. It came around the time she suffered heartbreak, as she had just ended a relationship. The press wouldn't let her be. They hounded the star and criticised her for her acting and her sultry dressing. Already she was stressed from the breakup and being a star, and when she didn't know what else to do to cope, she decided to end it all. She attempted this by stuffing up on sleeping pills, but thankfully it didn't work. Despite this, they wouldn't leave her alone. They chased her and wanted to take pictures of her. They waited and lurked around for her to say something they'll use against her. Even her second wedding wasn't spared by the paparazzi. They didn't allow the bride to feel the specialness of the day. They took it away from her. It was terrible. It was a nightmare. The photographers had forced their way into City Hall. It caused a scandal, Bardot lamented. Even with all this, the media hadn't gotten enough, which brings us to the elephant in the room. Brigitte Bardot, her son, and Jacques Charrier. It all started with her meeting Jacques Charrier in the film Babette Goes to War. It wasn't the first time the actress would hook up with a co-star, but there was something fundamentally deeper between the two's relationship. Jacques came to her when she was in a dark place. The pair had similar upbringings. They were both from wealthy households. Jacques was the type of person that Bardot's parents would approve of. So Jacques swept her off her feet and managed to sweep her panties off her too. The trust between the two must have been so high that they could afford to be careless. Unfortunately, this resulted in a pregnancy, and this was where the problem began. Brigitte wasn't ready to be a mum. She was ready to remove the pregnancy, but Jacques begged and brought in the cavalry. By cavalry we mean his parents. They had a shotgun wedding. Brigitte calmed down and carried the pregnancy. However, she was resentful of the baby growing within her. Later she would describe the baby growing within her as a tumour. She revealed that she blamed the baby for ending her flat tummy and tried to get a morphine shot to end the pregnancy. When she couldn't get that, she began to punch her belly. When it was time to give birth, the media struck again. They didn't allow her to leave her home for the hospital. It was a sea of paparazzi outside her home, and she had to settle for a home birth. Yes, Nicholas, the actress's son, was born in her home. I started screaming, begging them to take him away from me. I never wanted to see him again, she said as she gave birth to her son. She was a bad mother to her son and refused to breastfeed the boy as she felt it was inhumane for her to do so. As she revealed in a later interview, the actress resented her son so much that she said she'd prefer to give birth to a dog instead. Wow! That was quite the statement from Brigitte. Then the media struck again. They didn't give the actress room to think and settle. What concerned them was getting a picture, and they got lots of it. Brigitte loved to pose with her baby, treating him like he was some accessory. However, the actress was worried. She didn't want her image to change from being the darling little mink she was to being a mum. So Brigitte didn't bond with her son. Instead, she wanted to explore and have fun. The pregnancy and marriage had her feeling trapped. Then her husband went to war and left Bardot alone. As soon as he went, Bardot's nature as an explorer struck again. She became involved with another man to cure her unhappiness at being a mum and married. She didn't care that her baby didn't like it when she carried him. After all, she didn't want him. The press did what they loved to do. They picked on her inadequacies as a mum and attacked her on all fronts. The couple divorced, and finally the actress was free as her husband got custody for the child. Bardot didn't even want to have custody or anything to do with the child's upbringing, so when her soon-to-be ex-husband suggested he take care of the child independently, she didn't sulk or fight. Bardot felt like a child and often thought she needed to be taken care of before she could take care of her child. But Jacques didn't keep his promise. He wanted his ex-wife to be in their son's life, so when he was 12, he sent their son to her. Bardot sent the boy back to his father. "I have an event," she told Jacques, and she couldn't cancel because of the boy. So much for Jacques thinking his ex-wife would grow and learn what it meant to be a mother. Little wonder Nicholas didn't want anything to do with her after that. It was so bad that Bardot was absent for all of Nicholas's critical moments. When Nicholas got into college, Bardot wasn't present to celebrate it with him. When he graduated, no mother to cheer for him. When her son became a model, she didn't even give him tips on handling the villainous media. He fell in love and got married. Brigitte wasn't there. When he had his children, Bardot was partying. Nicholas had become a grandfather, which means Bardot had become a great-grandparent, but her son doesn't want any part of her. "She loves her fur coats, and I love my family," Nicholas said on why he didn't have a bond with his mother. Later she had words for her husband. Somehow she still blamed him for everything. She described him as a vulgar, dictatorial and uncontrolled macho, a gigolo and despicable alcoholic. Classic Bardot. This time her husband reacted. He sued her for her statements about him and gave his own response. However, he was much more mature than his ex-wife. His response showed that his ex-wife did try to mend the bridges between herself and her son. The actress wrote extensively to Jacques, trying to find out about her son's well-being. Jacques kept the letters. Bardot isn't quite the monster after all, but she did say and do some more things which made the media go crazy with excitement. She wore pants to a traditional state function. It was in December 1967, and the superstar was meant to meet Charles de Gaulle. It was an esteemed event, one steeped in tradition, but the organisers didn't count on one thing. If they did, we are certain they would have told General de Gaulle not to invite the actress. The star sauntered into Élysée Palace not only wearing a dress part, but in a Napoleonic fashion wearing the dress of a hussar. Her hair swept over one of her shoulders, and her makeup incorporated the use of kohl around her eyes. But decency hasn't wholly fled the actress. She became shy upon seeing the general. "Bonjour, mon général," Brigitte said shyly. "Indeed, madame," Charles responded. "What a day!" Of course, you know how the media would handle it. They frothed at the mouth, but nothing they hadn't done before. But did Bardot learn to have some panache? Not at all. She got into trouble with the law, or troubles would be the right word to use, but more on that later. It shocked that a lady from a strict Catholic household would sleep with more than 100 people, including women. She was bisexual and explored the pleasures the body had to offer. She was sexually free, but she wasn't truly free. For her fun side, the actress was at heart lonely, depressed and trapped. She was hounded by her fame. It's interesting, isn't it? Someone that had that much wealth felt alone. Perhaps money isn't everything, as they say. It all started in September 28th, 1934, when Brigitte was born. Her parents were wealthy, and she didn't lack anything except feeling loved by them. Her parents were strict Catholics who were concerned with proprietaries more than they cared for their daughter. Their daughter couldn't choose her friends and couldn't do anything without her parents knowing. It left her choked, isolated, and alone. Since she was a child, there was always a yearning for her to be free. She would get the freedom soon enough, but not before she suffered her father's wrath, when she broke the family's expensive vase. Already feeling alone, her father treated her like she didn't exist. So the delectable actress felt like a prisoner in her own house. It got worse during World War II, but it was then that the instrument of her freedom got prepared. With the dangers of the war looming, Bardot's mother spent more time indoors, and she noticed how graceful her daughter was when she was dancing to one of the many records they had in the house. Her grace while dancing convinced her mother she had what it took to be a ballet dancer. Through ballet, the actress began to loosen the vice-grip claw her parents had on her. During one of her dance lessons, Hélène Gordaf-Lazareff, Elle magazine's director, spotted Bardot. He was awestruck and was confident he had found the next big thing for his magazine. He quickly employed her as one of his models. He made one of the best decisions for his magazine as it would turn out. Within a year, Bardot had become the cover model for the magazine. Like that, a star was born. The whole of France was inflamed with this young beauty. The French movie industry didn't sit to observe too, as made a play for the actress and offered her the world. The actress was enticed. More freedom, the actress thought, but her parents? They resisted. No daughter of theirs would be an actress. To them, an actress was nothing more than a cheap woman. If this little girl is to become cheap, cinema will not be the cause, a grandfather defended her. The girl entered the cinema world but failed to land her first role. However, she landed Roger Vadim, a young director and screenwriter. He looked at me, scared me, attracted me. I didn't know where I was any more, the actress said about Vadim. She and Vadim struck a relationship, and it was scandalous. He was like her in how she showed disdain for customs and propriety. He exposed the actress to the power of her femininity and taught her the art of the bedroom. However, soon the student would surpass the master. She cheated on him, but he didn't mind. He cheated too. However, they were determined to marry. Bardot's father said no. His daughter threw a mighty tantrum, but he wasn't fazed. Then Brigitte did something that scared him and her mother. She put her into a lit oven and prepared to slowly cook her skull until she died. If she couldn't be with Vadim, then life had no meaning. Her parents were scared witless. They didn't want their daughter to die. They begrudgingly accepted the relationship, but they put a condition. There was to be no marriage until Brigitte had grown older. As soon as she turned the agreed age, Bardot married the love of her life. Their union made sense on the business side, as Vadim has always dedicated his time to ensuring his wife's career picked up. It worked, but her films had the same tone. They were mostly always sensual, and she wasn't afraid to show too much skin. Her sensuality reached international heights when she and Vadim collaborated on Vadim's film And God Created Woman. This film broke every bit of social restraint at the time, and it made Bardot an international star. The film crossed the ocean to America, where the audience went wild at Bardot's stifling sensuality. It had been a while since a film had graced the cinemas in America. The Hays Code stifled a number of films at the time, and the code went all out to prevent Bardot's film from showing on the silver screen. Any cinema that showed the film had its owners arrested and prosecuted, although later Bardot won as the film helped loosen the morality restrictions on American films. And God Created Woman began the end of Vadim and Bardot's relationship, as Bardot fell in love with a male co-star, Jean-Louis Trintignant. He taught me how to be so free that, as a result, I left him for another man. That was his price to pay, Bardot said. She didn't feel like she had done something wrong, and it would be a trait that followed her all her life. After 2 years of wild red-hot romance, she left Jean-Louis for Gilbert Bécaud, a musician. Soon she would leave Bécaud for Jacques Charrier, and boy, was that relationship a hot mess. But you know all about that already. Another attempt at her life came after she married her third husband. Their romance was dramatic, but Bardot found it warming until she didn't. After a few years of being married to the millionaire Gunter Sachs, she left him, and soon after she quit acting. She was becoming a relic of the French movie industry and wouldn't give anyone the satisfaction of seeing her beg. It seemed she was going to take charge and responsibility for her life, but it didn't come easy for her still. She lived, but she still wasn't peaceful. She remarried and took up animal rights. In her passion for animals, she criticised a community's method of slaughtering animals. It drew the ire of the media, the public, and the authorities. She would make hurtful statements about other communities too. Old age didn't bring restraint for her. Her mouth remained sharp as ever. Bardot didn't change, and rather many other people became like her. She helped remove shame from women and encouraged them to make a sultry display of their bodies. For Brigitte Bardot, motherhood has poisoned her life, while others wanted to be a mother in their hearts. Did Rita Moreno regret aborting Marlon Brando's child? Watch this video.